Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Olivia. It's the new year, which means that a lot of people not only like to look at the future, but also like to look back on 2017, and they ask themselves various kinds of questions, maybe one of them being what was their most challenging part of 2017, and I can easily answer that question with one word and one word only, the NCLEX. But I am proud to say that I ended the year so strong because I passed the NCLEX. Woohoo! I passed the NCLEX. I passed it. I passed it. I passed it. Passed it. I actually passed the NCLEX a month ago, but I've decided to do this video because I think it would be kind of cool to kind of reflect back on what I did, how I was able to pass it. So the story of how I figured out how I passed it was this. So I took the exam on a Thursday. I waited till Monday and I checked the website and my name wasn't popping up, and then I was just like, oh, like in my head I was thinking I failed, and I did the Pearson VUE trick just to confirm, and my card was expired already, so I used that card. And instead of telling me that my card is expired and I can't use it or something like that, it actually gave me a good pop-up. And of course, you know, I heard you can't really rely on that all that much, but I was just thinking to myself like, ooh, maybe I have a chance. The next day I was woken up by my mom's phone call. It was like 8:30 in the morning, and the first thing she told me was that you passed, because like my family, they also been checking up on the website for me as well. And I guess my sisters, they checked right before they went into work. There was my name up there on the website, and I was just like, wow, I finally did it. My feelings at that very moment was just, I was just so relieved. The reason why I was so relieved is because that was actually my second time taking the exam. Yes, I did take the NCLEX 2 times. I failed it once, I passed it once. I just wanted to share with you guys a little bit of what I did to prepare for the NCLEX for both times. I do want to say for the first time I took the NCLEX, I was ashamed, I was embarrassed. I thought I had it down. I went in there and I went all the way to 265 questions. At the very moment it ended, I knew that I failed. I mean, I didn't take it so well. I do want to say this now, looking back, I was ashamed then, I'm not ashamed now. I'm not embarrassed now, just because, you know, me failing that time kind of taught me a little something about myself, because in nursing, you're always continually learning. Like, there's no such thing as you learning and then you stop being in nursing. Like, you're always gonna learn up to the very last day of your career ever. Taking the first exam, it taught me how I needed to study for the next exam. So for the first exam, I signed up with Kaplan. I'm telling you guys this right now, Kaplan is really good. I'm not here, you know, talking bad about it, because it's not bad at all. So with Kaplan, they give you about over 1,000 practice questions, and they give you like practice exams, and they also have videos in which you can watch and you can kind of learn. And they're very short videos, they're not long, they're like, I think the longest one is like 20 minutes, but like majority of it is like 3-5 minutes long. So it was a 75 question practice exam, and then after that I reviewed all of the questions. It gives you explanations for all the right answers for why it's right, and then for all the wrong answers for why it's wrong. After each exam, I reviewed all of those 300 explanations, and that, like, I wanted to do a practice exam and go through all the explanations all by the end of the day, and then the next day I would just repeat that whole thing again with a new set of 75 questions. Where I think I went wrong was that I rushed through it all, because my mindset was like, I need to complete all of this by the end of the day. I didn't really take my time, I didn't really soak it in, and I feel like because of rushing, I definitely took that in with me in the NCLEX, where I kind of rushed through the questions. But I feel like I definitely didn't take my time, and I think that's where I kind of went wrong the first time. It wasn't because I lacked knowledge. Trust me, lacking knowledge is definitely not the problem. If you're sitting in front of the computer and you're about to take the NCLEX, I can tell you this right now, I'm pretty sure you know a thing or two about nursing. You went through nursing school, you studied your butt off for this exam, you know nursing. It is not because lack of knowledge. So if you're putting yourself down because you think like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything, I mean, like, yeah, you will go into the exam thinking that way, feeling that way, but I do believe in a saying that you know more than you think you know. So I definitely think that preparation for this exam is key. And if I can give you guys any advice, I would definitely recommend to take your time. Reflecting back on that while preparing for the second time to take the exam, I told myself that I should just completely change my routine. Again, I'm not here to say Kaplan is bad. Kaplan is absolutely not bad. If Kaplan works for you, it has worked for so many people, so if it works for you, do it. It's just for me, I felt like changing up my study routine completely is what I need to do. So, I didn't touch Kaplan for my second exam. While I was waiting to hear about my ATT, I decided to hit the books. So what I did for my second time was I bought the Saunders book. I don't know if you see it. I can't see myself in the camera, but I hope you see it. So what I did with this book, of course, there's like so many chapters in here. 72 chapters in this. 1,043 pages. There's no way I'm reading all of this book for my second exam. That's a lot of reading. So what I did instead was that I read the chapters that talked about the main systems. So for example, I read up on fluids and electrolytes because I figured that's really important, especially when you're reading about fluids and electrolytes in terms of cardiac and urinary systems. And then I read about the acid-base balance because, again, that's really important when talking about metabolic and respiratory alkalosis and acidosis. So there's a chapter called the cardiovascular disorders of the adult client, the respiratory disorders of the adult client, and I also did renal and urinary disorders of the adult client. And I wonder if there's something else. Oh, and neurological disorders of the adult client. With Kaplan, they taught me that ABC is really important when addressing questions. So if you have a question and the answer has something to do with airway, you will probably pick airway because if you go through the ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation, that's kind of the order you go through. And of course with airway, you go from respiratory, breathing, respiratory, circulation. It has to do with, renal, with cardiovascular. And then neurological disorder is very important too, because if you see changes in level of consciousness, that's a huge red flag, what's going on. And so it's just stuff like that, and those are the only chapters I went through because I thought those were the most important when trying to tackle down the NCLEX. But yeah, that's what I did with this book. And so my sister recommended this book to me as well. It's called Prioritization, Delegation and Assignment. What I did with this book, so I would read a little bit of the Saunders book of the chapter that I was on, and then at the end of the day I would take a little practice exam from this book. So just a little insight on what this book has. There's part 2 and part 3. So part 2 is prioritization, delegation, and assignment, and common health scenarios. So you have about 21 chapters in terms of this, starting off with pain, and you're going through like safety and infection control, neuro, visual and auditory problems, renal, reproductive problems, problems in pregnancies. It's just a lot going on. So that's part 2. Part 3 is prioritization, delegation, and assignment in complex health scenarios. So part 2 was common health scenarios and part 3 is complex. So these are basically case studies. Us nurses, or us nursing students, we love case studies. Really good books. I highly recommend these. So a month right before the ATT, I decided to sign up for UWorld. I heard a lot of great things about UWorld, and personally for me, I wish I've done UWorld in the first place. It's because I just felt like it was better suited for me, for my learning style. So what I mean by that is that, you know how Kaplan had videos? Well, UWorld actually has pictures, and that really helped me out because I'm more of a visual person. I mean, there were a lot of moments when there was a question and I thought of a picture, and that really helped me out. And also, I do think UWorld is a little bit more similar to the NCLEX in terms of what it looks. UWorld, just like Kaplan, has over 1,000 questions, 75 question exams, and what I did this time around was I really did take my time. So instead of doing a 75 question exam and reviewing everything all in one day, what I did, I took the exam and I really took my time with each explanation. Not a lot of time, but I took more time than I would have with Kaplan initially in the first place. And so instead of taking a practice exam every single day, I took a practice exam maybe like every other day or so. You can take notes and stuff on UWorld, which is really nice to me. The day before my exam, what I did was that I printed out all of my notes from UWorld, and I just simply took a towel and went to the beach. So I live very close to the ocean, and I just spent the whole entire day, the day before my exam, just sitting on the shore, on the sand, soaking in the sun, and reading through this, eating my pizza, and just relaxing. And I highly recommend doing something like that. If you're someone who has failed the exam or is worried about taking the exam, just a little advice I can give you guys from what I've learned from my experience is that take your time with learning. Even if you do pass the NCLEX, you're gonna have to continue studying as a new nurse, and then you're gonna continue learning different ways throughout your whole nursing career. So don't worry about the end point. Just worry about your time right now. You will pass the exam sooner or later, but you will. I hope talking about like my journey and how I got to passing the NCLEX helped you guys out a little bit, kind of give you guys ideas or motivation. I wish you guys the best of luck. You're going to do great. I believe in you so much. And if you guys have any comments, any questions, there is always a comment section down below. I'll try my very best to reply to all of you guys if there are any replies. I'm acting like I have like 1,000 views. I don't. So this is the end. I'm just gonna end it right here. I hope you guys have a really good day. I wish you guys the best of luck. And so yeah, bye guys.